No, but I like a question though, because like with the point you just made about like in other places it's worse off. Like I agree with that, but you could like
Well, it's all relative.
yeah,
Relative.
yeah. But like you could literally make that point about like anything.
Dude,
Like
exactly.
no, like even when they were doing slavery, right? They could have been like, oh, well, at least we're not killing Jews like Germany. So like you know what I mean? Like I don't feel like you can't say like our issues aren't that bad compared to other people. So it's not that big. I feel like that's kind of like, I don't want to say it's like a cop out, but like it doesn't really like we can't fix South Africa the same way we can fix America. It's like that's why I don't like worry about South Africa, because I can't change like the change we can do here, like we should try to do, but we can't change.
Okay, all right, so listen, let me ask you though, right? Here's a question. How would you know, what would the point be in which you could say, given that, I'm with you. Like, you know, it's hard to compare. You compare apples, you compare oranges, you compare, like, I don't know, like, whatever. How do you know? How do you know? Let me see, I wrote this down. How would you know? Like, what would you have to see in the United States to say racism and discrimination is not that big of a problem? Like, how would you know we've arrived? And don't say we'd all be equal, because, shit, we wouldn't all be equal. We're not all equal. That's just the nature of the game. That's just kind of simple. What would you have to see?
Well, I can't tell you, sorry. I can't tell you exactly what it would look like, because we're so far from that at the moment that it's almost impossible to see. But you know, for starters, you can't say that it's not that big of a deal when, for example, like the El Paso shooter was literally targeting Latinos. So if people are getting killed for the color of their skin, obviously the problem is monumental. So getting to a point where no one's being killed anymore for what they look like is probably a pretty good place to be in. But farther than that, making sure that every race has the same opportunities.
What do you mean by opportunities? Like you can
Like,
never do that, though. Like, you're never going to do that. You're making sure rich people and poor people have the same opportunities. It's like, how do you do that, right? Like, how
Well, I'm
do
not
you?
talking about rich and poor.
Yeah, but you really are, because every race, some groups have more money than other groups, right? So, like, how do you do that?
Well, a lot of white people have more money than people of color, because people of color aren't awarded the same opportunities that white people are.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so how do you balance it out? Will you take money from white people and give it to somebody else?
No,
Like,
but
what do you do?
I don't know, stop being a jerk and seeing people for the color of their skin
Yeah,
and for what
but
they're
you're
actually
already
worth.
ahead. No, here's the problem. White people, look, man, you're having a race. White people are already at the top. So, like, what are you going to do? Black and brown people are down here. Asians are somewhere in the middle. White people are already at the top. So, like, what are you going to do? You're going to, like, bring them back down? Or, like, what do you do? How do you know when you've arrived at somewhere? How do you know? Where do you go when you can get to the place where you say, yeah, you know what, it's okay. We're really close. We're okay.
I mean, I know like personally, like, cause anyway, like I used to like, my dad has like a church, and like we would go to like the church, and like it was like in a ghetto part of like the community. Like I'm not gonna say the place, but like it was like ghetto. And like when you go there, it's like it's obvious. Like you can see the effects of it. Like the whole like school to prison pipelines. Like there are places like if you go to school, the chances of you going to prison are like 10 times higher than everywhere else.
Okay.
And it's like you can't tell me that's like that's not an issue, because like people are like just born and like you're already like it's almost like you graduate high school and you're going to jail. So like there's already,
I got you.
and then even like prosecuting like weed for the longest time. Like at least that's a clear improvement I've seen. But even like people would go to jail for 30 years for weed.
You're 10 times more likely, if you grew up in this particular community, you're 10 times more likely to end up in prison than if you're growing up in this community. So that's unfair, okay? So then you say, yeah, we haven't arrived. When would you say we've arrived? Does it have to be equal, or could it be 1.5 times more likely, or 2 times? Like if you went from 10, let's say it is 10. You went all the way from 10, and the numbers start dropping such that you are now, you'd say, okay, I'm good with that. Like we're never going to get to 1-to-1, let's say. It's never going to be equal. Well, where would you say like, okay, I've gotten there. That's cool.
I feel like that's such like a hypothetical.
No, it's good though.
Like, no.
This
I
is the
get what
problem.
you're saying, but
Yeah.
like any number I pick has no meaning. If I said 3%, if I said 4%, or like 4 times, 3 times, 2 times, like it doesn't have any meaning. Like, you know what I mean? Like
No,
there's
I
no
got you.
difference
I
between
agree.
2 times and 3 times as much. It's just kind of like,
So-
you're just telling me to pick like an obscure number.
Okay,
to, like,
it is,
justify
but
the
you
argument.
understand why
No,
I'm
I
doing
get
it.
your question, but it's just that like it's so like vague that like if I answered it, I wouldn't be saying anything.
Dude, exactly, you wouldn't be. And one of the things that happens with us, that we're just arguing back and forth. So I might be over here arguing with you, or Sean or Isaac, be like, yeah, but dude, come on, man. But it's not that. It's not. Things have changed. It used to be 30 times more likely. Now it's 10. It's like, what do you need it to be? Because we're never going to be equal. And at what point in time are you going to account for the fact that all these people, even though it's it's a prison pipeline, at some level they made decisions, and so therefore it's like, what the, like what am I going to do? And so what happens is we're just arguing past each other, and we don't even understand that we're arguing past each other. So I'm completely with you 100%.
I think he gave the best answer to that, which is that it's arbitrary to pick a certain number. The only thing I would add to that is that, 'cause this reminded me of Kanye West, who said that he described racism as, quote, an invisible wall, and he said, I'm not going to let that stop me. I think that's obviously we want to stop racism. Nobody likes racism. Everyone hates racism. And we have, lots of laws in place to stop it, and lots of opportunities for people. Of course, there's a lot of problems in a lot of communities that need to be fixed. Like, for example, the black community. If you're born black, you're extremely likely to grow up poor and without a father.
More likely.
More likely, yes, thank you. Which is an unfortunate reality. That is a form of privilege, is to have a family, to have a stable structure, to have a mom and a dad.
I don't think it's possible to believe that we're ever going to arrive. I don't think that's something that could happen. Just because the world we live in is based on flawed humans. It's built up of flawed humans, and because of that, there's nothing that we're ever going to be able to do to equalize everyone. I think the closest we can get is really close to what we've done. We've removed all the laws encouraging racism and slavery. We got rid of Jim Crow laws, and then we've also put legislation in place to encourage equality. But ultimately, it's up to the individual to either practice or not practice racist thoughts and ideas. And because of that, we're never going to be able to manage the individual person, and so we're never going to be able to fully arrive at a utopian idea.